If you know you have a specific target audience, you can target that. That's different as far as what we're talking about, but you can apply it to those.
Yep.
The and I bet if we looked at your demographics around holidays, it would change.
No, it's still the same, actually.
Is it still the same?
Yeah. So
How funny.
here's the interesting. Yeah. The interesting aspect of it is so I've only gone through one holiday season. I'm going to. It's going to be interesting to see how this upcoming holiday season happens. Um, but people don't go and make the big purchases like when I was doing it, people weren't making like major purchases from me in the sense of they weren't buying the expensive items. They were buying large quantities of the inexpensive items. So
Hmm.
that way they could give them away as little gifts and
Sure.
not like major gifts.
Hmm.
Uh, that was the interesting thing that I noticed this past season. This upcoming season might be slightly different.
Okay, cool. All right. So how do we bring that back to the topic
I don't
of
know.
strategy?
Oh, we were talking about societal changes and stuff and socioeconomic trends.
Hmm. What are social economic trends, by the way?
Well, so they give examples of aging, like your target demographic could age. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like what's going on with your your demographic is kind of what they're talking about. Is your demographic always going to remain the same? And what's kind of one of the things that we also have to kind of be interested in with those is your demographic may always be the same. So let's take TV shows for example.
Okay.
The key demographic for TV shows tends to be the 25 to 45 range. Um,
Hmm.
that is huge. If you can target and you can hit that demographic, that tends to indicate that you have a successful show. At least that's the traditional way of doing it. I don't know. It's probably changed a little bit, and it does change depending upon the TV show and everything. But the thing with that is if age is your target demographic, that means that there are going to be people entering that demographic range and people exiting that demographic. So somebody who may be a long time customer can at some point become a non-customer at some point.
Hmm.
And so you need to be able to recognize that because one of the things that a lot of businesses really rely on are the repeat sales.
Yeah.
It's that 80/20 principle where 80% of businesses' revenues come from repeat sales and 20% comes from new sales.
Hmm. I would go even further to say that the fact is that salesmen make businesses, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep,
Okay. I was hoping
I
you'd
agree.
argue on that.
Well,
So
so I mean, okay, if you want me to argue against that, the salesmen make businesses. Okay, so
I mean, the business owner can destroy his business easy. That's
yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah. Um, let me think about how if I could come up with a good counterpoint to that because that is hard to.
God makes people,
Um,
so God makes salesmen, so God makes good salespeople. So God makes
no,
sales.
I would maybe argue marketing makes a business because you can't have sales without marketing. You can't
Okay.
have sales without discovering the product, unless
Okay.
you're doing cold calls, which can happen. But
It
anyway,
it does and it should. It should be like at least 20% of the market of your sales.
yeah. So my I guess the counter argument to sales making business is that marketing makes your business, because marketing is how people discover you, and how you can adjust and map who's coming in, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Because so like there's a lot of people, a lot of stories where people will create a business and they'll start going down the business route, and then they'll sit there and they'll be like, I hate my customers. My customers are terrible people, because my customers aren't like customers, like they're not paying me anything or doing anything, or they're paying me only a pittance. Well, it's because of your marketing. You need to change your marketing. So that would be my argument.
Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. So, wow, we jumped really deep into a topic. The Every
But all
business
of
needs to establish branding, right? So
yeah,
branding is really what carries the
yeah,
sales value beyond the salespeople.
yep,
And there's ways to create sales that makes it so that they don't run over your business, right? Which is easy to do
yes.
in a small business.
Well,
Um,
and along those lines, if you're not intentional about your branding, then you're going to become known for something that you don't want to be known for.
exactly. If you don't control your brand name and image, then you would there is no matter what you do, you are branding yourself. You are branding your
Yep,
business.
yep,
So to go back on there's personal branding and business branding. Every salesman tends to have his personal branding, and this is why really high end salespeople are chased after, because anybody can hire a mega sales guy, and he brings with him his own client base.
yeah, that is true, especially within the pharmaceutical industry. That's an even better example, or a really
Yeah,
good
yeah,
example of
with
that.
pharmaceutical, really with any industry, right? When I was working it with dev slopes, right? One of the questions was how many sales basically can you bring in with your personal brand? Um, and we had questions in there, and in the end, I guess for them it wasn't enough value.
Yeah,
But that's probably a different question um of proportionality, right? So these are questions that should be asked, and I'm glad they did ask it, right? Many of my other clients ask that same question. I
mm,
tend to turn it around and say, okay, do you want your brand to be me,
hmm,
or do you want to own your brand?
yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
and,
I'm
and
like, it takes a lot of work to build a brand. I can give you all the shortcuts in the world to get you launched, but that's not going to help you in the long run.
and that's part of the danger that people have. There's a lot of businesses, I think they like to hire businesses like to hire influencers to get their
Mhm.
products out there and stuff. But the problem is when
Yeah,
you hire
yeah, a really good salesman is like an influencer.
yeah.
Same kind of category.
But part of the difficulty with that is it ends up being exactly what you that question that you ask them. Your brand ends up becoming so tied to that influencer
Yep.
that
Your success.
when that influencer now no longer wants to work with you because you can't pay them what they are
Yep.
currently asking,
Yep.
your sales, everything's going to suffer significantly because of it. And that's part like and I think that is a rookie mistake that businesses will and can and will make. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
do
Yeah,
uh,
it's actually it so you should leverage it, right? This you need to be able to leverage. Get quick sales, get velocity,
yes,
and get
yep,
out there. You can't get influencers without having some existing velocity
yeah,
and to be able to show this. So influence is hard. You can buy a salesman that has a customer base behind them that will help you get this. That's
yep,
going to be super expensive. In
yeah,
fact, it may cost you more than it's worth, but
yep,
it may well be worth it just as marketing sometimes cost more upfront than you'll regain in 9 to 24 months.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You have to get a velocity going. It's super
Yes.
important for search and for every algorithm.
Yep. Long and short of it is, when I got back to trying to create content and do content again, it took a while for the algorithm to actually pick it up and
Yep.
like really start going through it. And that's what happens.
Hmm.
You need that velocity, and once you have that velocity, you really want to hold on to it as much as you can. And it is
Yeah, you
difficult.
can't miss a beat. It's a
Yep.
bear that expects to be fed.
Yep.
And this is people's mentality, right? If they
Yep.
expect you have a social contract. If you're delivering content once a week, once a day, once a month, it's
Yep.
expected, right? Whatever that is, you make that commitment. This is your wedding, dear.
Yeah, it
You,
is.
you've married all those crazy people out in the world.
Yep. I agree.
Live up to that expectation.
So,
Okay,
speaking of,
so if I read the definition and their main cues, right, and relate to their pharmaceutical example,
yeah,
social economic trends. I'm going to read this because I don't read much from the book anyway, so I'm going for it.
who cares?
What are the key demographic trends? How would you characterize income and wealth distribution in your markets? How high are disposable incomes? Describe spending patterns in your markets, example, housing, healthcare, entertainment, etc. What
Yeah,
portion of the population lives in urban areas as opposed to rural settings?
that's
Right.
a big
So
one.
this is yeah, yeah. So this was a really good example of socioeconomic trends: location, income,
Yep.
education, disposable income, preferred markets of purchasing power, and of industry where they work.
Yep.
So it is a great example of keywords.
I'm going to die.
Die,
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, hold
die,
on.
die, die,
I
die,
need
die.
water. Water.
Some of my friends say it's a good day to die.
Is it? Is it a good day to die? I don't
You know, some people say this expression is more about enjoying the moment and living fully,
know. True. All right.
but it sounds rhetorical. So
It is
I
true.
appreciate the sarcasm of
I like sarcasm.
it. Okay, since the book uses pharmaceutical example, they talk about the challenges that these guys are pharmacies are experiencing back in 2010, right?
Oh yeah, this is
Was
huge.
social economic trends is aging society in many mature markets, good but costly healthcare infrastructure in mature markets, growing middle class and emerging markets, large and unsatisfied healthcare needs in developing countries. And I gotta say, I never saw the solution to this being COVID,
That's true.
right? So I want to thank Fauci for his brilliance and for his decade of engineering to produce this disease and the vaccines that he did simultaneously. God bless this man.
No,
I
I
could have
really
never seen
appreciate
that coming
that.
back in 2010.
I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And I want to thank you for appreciating my love of this amazing superhuman.
You're absolutely. You're welcome.
Awesome.
Nothing more
All
need
right,
be.
moving on.
Yeah, please let's.
We can almost not swallow that anymore. Okay, market forces has another 5 sections, right? So market forces include market segments, obviously, needs and demands, market issues, switching costs. Switching costs are not like a light bulb, but what it costs to go from one provider to another, and revenue attractiveness. And I just really cannot wait to ask you about revenue attractiveness and what the hell is a market issue?
Okay, which one do you want first?
Issues. I'm all about the issue.
Do you
No
need a
trouble.
tissue for your issue?
No, no, but I'm all about the base.
All about the base.
No trouble.
Mhm. So Yeah. Market issues. So, all right, their definition is identifies key issues driving and transforming your market from customer and offer perspectives. I'm going to just push it over. So, it's kind of like what is going on within the market itself is really the question that they're asking with that. Pharmaceutical wise, it's kind of like, okay, healthcare costs are going up. Well, what's going on? Why is that the case? What's causing it? And along those lines, like how does your product fit within that cost like that rising cost? Is it a cheaper alternative or is it much more expensive now? Is it a luxury thing? Um, one of the big things that they talk about in the pharmaceutical world is there's been an emphasis uh, from switching from treatment of diseases to preventing diseases. Theoretically speaking, if you can prevent a disease, it's much cheaper for insurance agencies in the long run than it is to treat the disease. So for a pharmaceutical company, it's much better for them to then invest their money in research into medications that help prevent certain things. So, like, can they create a medication that prevents cancer, like the holy grail of medication? Can they create some? So can
Can
you?
they create a vaccine to save you and grandma from
Yeah, from the Rona. Uh, yeah.
the common flu?
That's- So that's kind of what they're talking about with key issues and things like that. One of the big key issues going on right now is inflation. So inflation's just going nuts for everybody.
And it should, because otherwise, how do we revenge those that invested so much money in us?
Yeah. With inflation going up, it kind of means at that point people have less money for discretionary spending. So so they don't have money to go and buy that book that you're trying to market to people. They don't have money for that app that you're trying to get them to spend money on for that game that you're trying to build out. So you have to be aware of just in general what's going on in the market. So if inflation is going up, and especially inflation within the necessities, so food, water, shelter, clothing. No, not even clothing. Clothing, actually, I would say, I would argue. So a lot of people sit there and say that clothing is a necessity. I would argue that um, clothing is discretionary,
I hate clothing.
because I think a lot of people don't recognize that you aren't going out and buying. For a lot of people, you're not going out and buying clothes constantly. I don't think clothing is as much of a necessity as people think. It's the food, water, shelter is the huge one, the huge ones. If you don't have those three, then it's kind of sucks. Life sucks. But if, like, in those areas costs are going up, that really does mean that they don't have the money to go and spend on that Chanel bag. So anyway, have I touched on market issues enough?
Yeah, I think you really offended a large section of our audience.
Yay,
Um, Now, here's what the next thing you have to do: make fun of high heel shoes for men.
dude! I will tell you this: high heel shoes are stupid.
Seriously, they make my ass look so good.
Yes, but have you
I
tried?
imagine.
They're
I
just
had to
dumb.
add that because I can only imagine it. My kilos, I just smash them.
They're just dumb. I think they're dumb. I and I'm glad that there's a lot of women out there who have stopped wearing them. I just it I just it's dumb to me. But that's me.
Okay, we can agree to disagree.
I don't mind, like, women with like a low heel, like a good inch or so. I think I think those can look pretty, but like the high heels, like that high, that's insane. Why would you do that to yourself?
You do it for your husband, dear. Ladies, from the married guy's perspective, there are sacrifices you make just to be pretty.
from the guy who is looking for a woman to date, don't do it.
Yep.
Don't do it. It's it's dumb. You're putting those heels on for other women when you're trying to date men.
Oh, okay. So now we need a survey. We
Yeah,
should,
we should.
if I was doing like a YouTube live, I'd do like a survey, like men,
Yeah.
heels, no heels, hat, no hat. Which one is it?